Let's bring in Shawn Simpson now. TSN 1200 Ottawa. And I said Simmer to producer Clark. I said, Simmer's had a lot to say over the last little while for the National Hockey League. Let's get him on with his hot takes. Yeah. How's the summer been, man?
You know what, outstanding. And Rod, got to be honest with you, I'm not a CFL guy. As soon as I hear you talk about the game, I actually get excited. And this should be like Fox News. I want you peddling your own book. Forget about the Moose. I want to hear about Rod Pedersen.
buddy, I started working on it. I'm like, I don't know if people are ready for this or not. So it's a ways away. Look, Simmer, I said you got all the hot. I love following you on Twitter, by the way. Everybody give him a follow at TSN Simmer. Can I just start with the broadest question of that Atlantic division?
Absolutely.
Do the Ottawa Senators make the playoffs in 2021-22?
I'll say no as of right now. And again, we'll see when we get to the season. But my power ranking would probably end up being Tampa Bay, Florida, Toronto. And then all of a sudden you'd have Montreal, Boston. And I think you got Ottawa right after there. Then Detroit and Buffalo pulling up the rear. The nice part is it's forward progress. It's not a bad thing. But the one thing you can't really measure from end of the year to next year, young team, the future once Brady Tkachuk is signed is certainly bright. But I'd say it's a little premature for that, Rod. And to be quite honest with you, all fortunes for this hockey club pretty much rest on Matt Murray. So until I see that he's good to go, I can't be calling them a playoff team.
Isn't that something, by the way, that it begins and ends in goal? But, you know, one thing, we did our show from Montreal Stanley Cup Finals from the home games. And the sense that I got there regarding Jesperi Kotkaniemi was the heat on him because he went ahead of Brady Tkachuk in the draft. Right, and what Brady's with what Brady's doing with you guys in Ottawa. Can you just talk about that for a second? And just the offer sheet deal, and it just that Kotkaniemi seemed to be becoming the whipping boy there in Montreal because of Brady Tkachuk.
Well, you know what, and right from the very beginning, this is all Marc Bergevin's fault. I mean, you look back to it and you understand they forced the pick. All of a sudden, Kotkaniemi's name came up, and all of a sudden he's a little bit higher rated. They reach on a third pick. Watching that every day in comparison to Brady Tkachuk, it's terrible. Because Brady Tkachuk, who doesn't want him on their team? At the same thing, Kotkaniemi's a nice young hockey player. They forced him in early. He was a boy playing against men. It's been a roller coaster. They lost the third pick overall. 21-year-old for Dvorak, who's a decent player. I don't think there's a ton of upside right there, but this from start to finish was an absolute disaster by Marc Bergevin and the Montreal Canadiens. And as far as a comparison, imagine the kid getting out the door. Forget about those. Go to Carolina. Focus on being a good hockey player. And it would just make me sick to my stomach. Brady Tkachuk is a throwback. He is the last true power forward, and he's going to dominate the National Hockey League for years to come. And the Montreal Canadiens may have needed center iceman, but for how long did they complain about not having size on their wings? So boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, it's been a big, big mistake for the Montreal Canadiens, and one they're never going to recover from.
Wow. And by the way, Rich Sutter was on with us last hour talking about the trade from Dvorak from Arizona to Montreal. And he's like, what are they doing in Arizona? And here's the reason I ask you. You're an Ottawa guy, former NHL goalie, front office guy. I feel for Andre Tourigny, the 67's coach and Team Canada coaches. What's he got to coach down there in Arizona?
Have you been to Arizona and making $2 million instead of riding the bus in Ottawa for junior hockey?
Okay, so it's about lifestyle. It's about lifestyle then, okay.
No, but Rod, he also knew what he was signing up for. You know, they're going to gut the thing. You have a program there. Billy Armstrong's done a masterful job. I also don't know Dvorak well enough. I saw his junior numbers. He played with Marner and Tkachuk. He's been okay. All my reports tell me he's a third-line center. I'll watch him when he gets to Montreal and decide. But Andre knew what he was signing up for. And like I said, it wasn't easy here. At least they have a plan. And they have the support, and it's not going to be fun. But like I said, it's not like he's surprised for what they're doing there. So, like I say, Andre was a good man. I didn't know enough about him when he was with the Senators. So respectful of the program that he built here with the Ottawa 67s. In long term, he'll be fine. And hey, first couple of years, it's going to be darn ugly. But what are they doing? Well, they're bottoming out. They don't have any money. They're going to have a plan. Ask Calgary Flames fans or a lot of teams out there in the National Hockey League if they wouldn't prefer a team that had a plan instead of a team that's in a mushy middle like Calgary, Montreal, and plenty of others. Hey, like I said, it's painful, but we saw here in Ottawa, if you do it properly, it'll work. And it has Ottawa hockey fans pretty excited once they sign Tkachuk.
Shawn Simpson with us from TSN 1200 Ottawa. I'm just scrolling through your timeline here. It's highly entertaining, as I said. Some of the top storylines going into the year, we had a vote, is what will you be watching the most? And our viewers said the Seattle Kraken. And it's a fun topic. Do you think they make the playoffs here in their first year?
Well, they're in the worst division in hockey, so I think it's kind of touch and go. If they do, it's an absolute failure because Ron Francis has not put together a very good hockey club. And if they are going to be picking in the middle of the pack for what he also did as a franchise, that's a big mistake. I don't know why you want to do that in a market like Seattle. I think they're going to do terrific. This is San Jose 2.0. It's going to be entertaining. People don't care what's happened at the games for the first few years, so they should be competitive. But like I said, that's not going to help the team any. I'm excited to see them. I can't say I'm overly excited, but it'll be very cool to go to games there. That is one of the most gorgeous cities on the planet, as you know.
Yeah, what took you to Seattle? I was going through there with the Regina Pats, and I just loved games in Seattle, loved staying in Seattle. We would hub out of there. You know the term. Were you there for hockey purposes or just vacationing?
No, a little bit of both. But, you know, it was beautiful going to Seattle. You would land there, you drive over to Tacoma, and as long as your car didn't get stolen in Tacoma, you'd go back to Seattle. You'd be good to go. This goes all the way back to when I was in Washington. We drafted Brendan Witt. So that was a big part of the cycle, the circle. Went through all those teams then. That would have been when Bruce Hamilton was sitting there and dreaming about moving his team from Tacoma up to Kelowna. Now he's bathing in the cash. That goes back a long ways, but spent a lot of time going through there. A lot more at the airport than necessarily downtown, but it was pretty cool back then, as you know, going to the Midwest and going down to Portland and heading over to Tri-Cities and over to Spokane. Some terrific hockey players come out of those programs.
Oh, boy, Shawn, you don't look that old. I guess we're about the same age. I called games in the Tacoma Dome where the sheet of ice was a rumor, like a facility built for football. It was fun. Yeah. But you could see why they wanted to get the Rockets out of there and move to Kelowna.
Well, the Tacoma Bridge disaster is one of the better natural causes or things of human. I'm 53, so I started out scouting a little bit young, started with the legendary Jack Button. Oh, yeah. We went out on that trip. That was one of my first scouting trips. And I think if we drafted Brendan 93, along with Jason Allison, the Quebec draft, signed him at the Edmonton draft, legendary pick. And so it goes back. Time moves quickly.
No kid. Craig Button's dad and Witter's the pride of Humboldt Sask. Now, another story. I got a couple here for our Florida hockey fans that are watching. Number one, do you see a Tampa Bay Lightning three-peat, or have they lost too much here in this offseason?
I think that'll be a little bit tough, but at the same time, Montreal, I think it was a one-hit wonder they've lost. The Boston Bruins, as they start to age, David Krejci's a huge loss. Within the division itself, I actually still have them as the best hockey team. When you lose all three of those role players, another short summer, but you still have the core. They've done some really good drafting. I know you're good, close with Al Murray. What a great job they've done on every level of hockey operations. I also do wonder deep down as you start to lose some depth, guys win a couple of times, how hungry the overall group is and how much energy you have. So certainly still have them in the top five, but I'm not counting on a three-peat. But hey, there's a lot of average teams in the National Hockey League right now.
Yes, are there ever? I paused the Florida hockey talk for a second because there are some viewer questions that have come in. Matt Herbert from the Prince Albert Raiders Facebook group says, will Parker Kelly see any time with the Senators this year? The Raider alum. What do you think?
Well, shout out to them. And I think the last time I was in Prince Albert, we had drafted Jeff Nelson. And the Nelson boys had come through there. There's another name for the past.
Are you dating your
Steve Kelly and Brad Church were on the team as well.
Yeah. So Churchy, the pride of Dauphin, Manitoba, and Steve Kelly from Edmonton. Continue. Sorry to interrupt. Parker Kelly. Do you see him in the Sens lineup this year?
You know what? It sure sounds like it. And he's an agitating guy. And I think if you kind of look at a fourth line, if in a perfect world from a Sens fans, they would probably have Ridley Gregg with Parker Kelly and Austin Watson. I think Gregg, of course, will end up going back to junior. But Parker Kelly is an agitator. They want to build a bit of energy fourth line. I know they're very high in him. And he's just one of those kids that certainly would fit into the mold of a G.J. Smith. So absolutely, I think he sees some games.
Boy, I could sit and talk with you forever about this. And here's another one, NHL.com.
No rush. I'd love to say any as long as you want, Rod.
Are you set up in one of your kids' rooms, by the way? It looks very dreamy and, yeah?
You know what? And again, I have to be quite honest with you. My girlfriend, and this is, cards on the table here. She works for CIBC, and during the COVID, of course, she's working from home. The home office has been set up in the bedroom. So I was scrambling to try to do a bit of a fake background. But I also thought with kind of back to school that this is kind of like a Disney theme, and that'd be kind of cool as well. And just purchased these new satin sheets. They're not my own line yet, so I can't give necessarily a shout out to them. But That's the family bedroom right there.
I like it. It looks very dreamy. It looks very home. I'm very comfortable watching it. So
I'm sure on those Western road trips is exactly the kind of place you stayed in the dub back in the day.
Oh, my God. Yeah, no kidding. Just talking about that the other day. 21-day road trips. The Panthers at NHL.com, they had 5 questions facing the Florida Panthers, and I'm like, not a lot of questions there. This is still a good team coming back. You were a goaltender. I was a goaltender. Here's mine for you. Sergei Bobrovsky, Spencer Knight coming back. Not a bad tandem there. Who do you think is the starting goalie in Game 1 for the Florida Panthers?
Well, I think you want to give it to Bobrovsky, but you never know. I mean, Spencer Knight, another one of those situations. People are like, why are you drafting a goalie when you already got one? Same thing in Montreal with Price. Same thing when Bishop was in Tampa. He came after Vasilevsky. I think it'll be great competition. The sleeper part and the part I can't understand, I'll watch him more this year with Seattle. Why were the Edmonton Oilers not in a guy like Drieger? I watched him here. I watched his progression. His numbers are so similar to Craig Anderson when he evolved, finally got to Colorado, over to Ottawa. So from a goaltending standpoint, hopefully it's just pushing Bobrovsky to be better. And for Spencer Knight, also realistic, just coming out of college. But boy, oh boy, he looks like the real deal. So I think more than anything, they just got to figure out what they have. Because Billy Zito, I'll tell you what, has gone there and done a real nice job, moved around some things and nothing but impressed. And I'll tell you what, not on an Olympic side, but if you want to talk about one of the NHL's most underrated players, is an Ottawa kid who didn't make the OHL, went out west, is Mackenzie Weegar. What a year he had after Aaron Ekblad went down last year. And I don't think Barkov's or Huberdeau's a secret anymore. So no, real good hockey team there, and should be some stiff competition for the Bob.
Well, that's the thing is Spencer Knight, if I read that right, was 4-0. In his starts with the Florida Panthers. That's unbelievable. And it's
also
tremendous.
The goalie factor out of Boston College is incredible. The amount of goaltenders over the years, that have come out of there. It's been a real good. They almost all look the same. All about 6'3" and just look like big walls in the net.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Dustin Wolf, Everett Silvertips, and Flames prospect. But when he wasn't playing at the World Juniors because of what Spencer Knight was doing, I'm like, how can I argue with this? He's winning every game. And they shut out Canada in the gold medal game. So anyways, what are you watching here in the preseason for the Ottawa Senators, Simmer, as they get ready to hit the ice here soon?
Well, I think more than anything, just getting Brady Tkachuk signed. I mean, it's such a big part of the hockey club, the fabric, kind of judging the importance of it and the confidence in it. But you put that together, and all of a sudden you got him and Norris playing together. You got Batherson on that side, Connor Brown down the stretch last year with Stützle, maybe Pinto, fill out the bottom group. Let's see when you come to training camp how they slot in Brandstrom. Is he back with Zub? So much anticipation here is about North Dakota and Jake Sanderson coming out next year. And then really quite simply is Matt Murray. But when you look at the foundation, you look at the group, you look at the outstanding drafting and development under the Mann brothers, it's a very exciting future. They've got a lot of good young players. I guess the biggest focus, though, Rod, is on the back end, seeing if they can piece that together. And where's Matt Murray going to be at? If Matt Murray can't do it, isn't consistent, isn't healthy, I don't mind Forsberg. And Gustafsson has a bright future, but they're not going to go very far this year. And Matt Murray's back to being the goaltender he was in Pittsburgh way back when.
But who was, sorry, I just can't stop with it. Who was that young goalie that came up that won his first game? Like he was the next. Yeah, Joey Decord. Where does he fit into the mix for the Sens?
Well, Joey's in Seattle now, right? He was taken to the expansion
Did they took
draft,
him?
So it'll basically stock up. Yeah, now it's Gustafsson and Sogard. Sogard came in and was 6-0. I'm sure you watched him a little bit in the Western League. Nothing but impressed with him. They also have Mandolisi, so that's how they stack up. And Decord was good. Certainly a toss-up as to who has a better upside, but Seattle ended up getting a pretty good goaltender there. So really, Gustafsson now signing a two-way for this year, a one-way the following year. Assumption is Forsberg will be gone, and he'll be the backup for Murray a year from now. All
right. Well, lots to watch at Senators camp. I know you'll be on top of it. Simmer, always enjoy the visit. Enjoy what's left of summer.
Yeah, always appreciate listening to you and really enjoy your enthusiasm, man. You really sell the CFL well, if that sounds in the sincerest way. It's very nice.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. All right. Have a great day. Shawn Simpson joining us from TSN 1200 Ottawa. And by the way, I met him at the Grey Cup 2017 in Ottawa and just clicked right away. Real good guy right there. Former NHL goalie, front office guy, now doing the TSN thing in the nation's capital. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.